mean, for the investors we talk to, is this where things are going regardless of who gets into the White House? And these stakes, we haven't even talked about whether they're potentially controlling ones or not. I mean, how much influence does this have? numbers in a very short amount of time, and inflation expectations are really just reflecting that reality. To be honest with you, I feel like inflation expectations have gotten a little bit ahead of itself in pricing in, too much of a normalization of expectations over the longer run. But I think, over the near to medium term, you are going to see core PCs start to head higher. And you're not going to really see that in the expectations data. Right now, is the labor market a lagging indicator that has less import? I mean, I know everyone's excited for this labor market report. I am actually really looking forward to this. I want to see the components coming in. I want to understand what the average hourly earnings are. I want to see all of these components. But it isn't the blockbuster kind of labor market report that we've seen in the past. When's it going to matter again? It could be, and it has mattered for the last few months. It's almost the counterfactual that matters. If you continue to get good data, it makes it somewhat easier for the Fed to think about just the inflation mandate. If you start to see an environment where the labor market starts to weaken and you start seeing inflation start to go up, that's when you need to be concerned. Overall, I mean, the trajectory for growth has been relatively strong. Maybe we see a little bit of a slowdown in the second half, but and labor market's been rebounding quite meaningfully the last few months, and we think that is probably here to stay. Do you get a sense though of what Kevin Walsh's reaction function would be to a weak labor market report? I think it's again too soon to react to one data print. You look at the 3 month and 6 month moving averages, it's actually quite strong. You look at the regional Fed surveys, the employment components are showing strength. Again, ISM manufacturing, the employment component is showing strength. So the labor market is definitely very, very, it's kind of a stabilizing force, if you will, for the Fed, because then they can focus on their other part of the dual mandate, which is inflation, which is rising quite meaningfully. If they're focused so much on inflation, then potentially that does mean a hike this year. Potentially. I mean, I think the market's pricing in for a hike by the end of the year, and perhaps even two by the middle of next year. For the Fed to move towards that direction, start thinking about hikes, you're going to need to see a stable labor market. If you start seeing inflation continue to pick up as well, you're going to see the Fed focus much more on the inflation side of the mandate. So a hike is not out of the table. Our call is for the Fed to keep policy on hold for the remainder of the year, perhaps the remainder of next year as well, as inflation remains hot and sticky. But that could change if we start seeing a trajectory towards core inflation continuing to drift higher.
Do you think there's some peak in bond yields?
I do think that we've seen the highs for the year.
Oh.
I think that you're going to see perhaps a gradual normalization of interest rates during the remainder of the year and next year as well. But a lot depends on what's happening in global bond yields. You've seen a synchronized decline in global bond yields since the beginning of May to now. Now you're starting to see JGB yields drift higher. That's kind of dragging the global bond yield complex higher. But fundamentally in the US, you're going to look towards the trajectory for growth. You're starting to see a normalization of growth. Yes, inflation is high and sticky, but I think over the remainder of the year, between now and the middle of next year, you're going to see a gradual drift lower in yield.
Where does that leave the shape of the curve? Because the curve has been flattening. What are you anticipating will happen?
I think the yield curve remains flat. I mean, that's been one of our calls for this year, is that the yield curve will flatten and remain flat. I think that's how things are going to play out. I mean, for the yield curve to steepen, you're going to need to see some change in the dynamics. It could be deficits, it could be global bond yields, but we don't really see any catalyst over the near term that's going to cause the yield curve to steepen. When was the last time you were this bullish on bonds? You've been actually really negative on bonds. Is it because of the Fed pivot or because of sort of the reaction function that we don't know about, but seeming more hawkish? Not necessarily bullish on bonds. I think that bonds are going to be somewhat range bound, and yields are going to be somewhat range bound for the end of the year and into next year. But the gradual trajectory is going to be towards lower yields over time as we sort of look at the trajectory for growth and the potential
provides 200 That's right. And I think there's a real elegance to if you want to move, if you really want policy to be effective, you actually want to create change. You don't have to, particularly when you're easing, you don't have to be so prescriptive about that change. You actually want to create a little bit of energy and a little bit of surprise because that's how you create economic and financial velocity. So, do you have at inflection points a little bit more volatility? Maybe. But I think at the end, I thought he made a statement that said, when we have something to say, we're going to say it. I like it. Like that to me is like, as long as you lay out the metrics, what are the benchmarks you're looking at? And then the markets can interpret those and make their decisions based on what those metrics and what your clear path of focus is versus the Fed having to tell you specifically, here's where we're going to go with it.
Let's talk about the market reaction, right? Because post FOMC, it had been one of higher yields where the 10-year yield started to bump up against 5.5%. We back off of that this morning, 2-year yields declining 4 basis points. Do you think we've seen a peak in yields now?
I will say one thing. I think I did a presentation that I said it's summertime, time to get serious. Although I go in a long weekend, and I'm not sure everybody's that serious. But listen, I think these real rates are pretty interesting now. We're not adding a lot of interest rate exposure yet, but you're getting to the point where these real rates are pretty interesting, particularly if you think, which we do, that you'll see some abating of inflation. You're seeing that with energy costs, et cetera. So, our view today is, I don't think we're going to make a lot of money on interest rate exposure. I actually think Europe's interesting because we see growth tangibly slowing and you're pricing in significant hikes. I think Europe, things like today, you get a little bit of softness. Maybe you had some European duration, or maybe we did. I think that's more interesting in the US. Gosh, I think income. Like, let's just carry. And if you can keep your income up, you're in this amazing environment with these real rates and with some spread. You can create 6.5% yields or even a bit above that. And to me, that's a much better disposition than like, gosh, I think the Fed's going to cut because they're certainly clearly not going there anytime soon.
Well, when it comes to bank, I mean, year to date, your total return is certainly exceeding the ag, both in the US and globally. That also stands if you take it out from a wider time horizon, too. I know you were also discussing on ETF IQ this idea that IG beta is less interesting to you. So, where in this American market are you squeezing out the yield?
There's a little bit of, I call it dynamic patience. There's, the new issue markets give you some opportunity. High yield is still, particularly Europe. Like some of these spread markets, if you're a dollar investor, you swap back to dollars. European high yield, even European IG is pretty attractive when you bring it back to dollars. And, particularly if you believe Europe is going to have to reduce rates over time. EM gets you some yield, and there's some places to pick up some yield across emerging markets. Securitized markets, there's so many things to do in securitized markets around commercial, residential, non-agency, et cetera. So it's those areas. And, I think we're in one of those environments. You pick a little bit here, you pick a little bit there. There's yield everywhere. And I just find like where you get really tight trading levels like USIG when there's a lot of supply coming. Yeah, agency mortgages are just okay. We trade them around a lot. But I like clipping coupon in some of the high yield markets and then going global to get some high yield.
Hey, Rick, I hate to do this to you. I only got 30 seconds, but I would just love to get your thoughts. The pace of issuance for IG already $1.1 trillion. Is that sustainable?
A lot. And markets that are last by and you have a lot of cash. It's a lot that's coming. Part of why I don't think spreads are that interesting. You got to absorb a lot of that supply. My sense is, could you have a little bit of indigestion? Yeah, I think so. But there's still pretty demand. So I don't think it'll be that interesting. But my sense is like it's not really that exciting to own it either.
Right, Rick. So great to get your thoughts. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy your long weekend and your 4th of July. Rick Bader there, BlackRock. We're going to get more on the payrolls report. We'll speak with White. For open interest.
Martins, esta acción, hace mucho que no la veo, vamos a eliminar esto, logró Mira, ya recuerdo cuando la vimos, sí, estábamos viendo el movimiento de la guía del mes de junio, finalmente fue una vela muy fuerte, retrocediendo prácticamente todo lo que avanzó durante mayo. ¿Eso qué significa? Eso significa que yo no puedo confirmar ese rompimiento, porque esto prácticamente podría ser catalogado como un falso rompimiento. Entonces, son solo dos velas cerrando muy fuerte hacia arriba. Hay que ver qué es lo que pasa para las próximas semanas, porque ahora mismo tiene como resistencia la zona de los 22,45, que limita el ir a buscar nuevamente los 44. Si el precio retoma la senda bajista, por ejemplo, y quiebra los 17,72, se parecería más a esta oscilación que estuvimos teniendo en este momento que a ese último impulso alcista que vimos hacia arriba. Así que para que ahí lo tengan presente. Paco dice, Gaby, ¿no tienes un curso de datos económicos y cómo influyen en el mercado? Sí, mira, acá en el curso de Fundamentos Sólidos del Trading, que es el curso, es el más caro de la academia, pero es muy barato en comparación a todo el contenido que hay en él. Hay una sección que se llama Bases Macroeconómicas en el Trading. Eso lo expliqué yo en esa sección del curso. Y ahí te hablo justamente de todo esto que tú me estás preguntando. Y ojo, que si adquieres este curso, también adquieres una parte de price action, también adquieres una parte de creación de estrategias y plan de trading, técnicas de money management y especialización de mercado, cómo operar forex, materias primas, mercado accionario, ETFs e índices. Así que trata de evaluarlo porque de verdad, capaz a ustedes les asusta el valor, pero es muchísimo contenido y muy completo. Es el más completo de la academia. Son más de 30 horas de clases. Entonces, por eso digo que es el más completo. Trata de evaluarlo, Paco. Te mando el enlace ahí a través del chat para que lo puedas revisar. Hay diferentes formas de poder acceder a él. Hoy cierra el mercado a la 1, no aparece cerrado hoy día de manera anticipada. A ver, dame un segundo, déjame chequear, porque no tiene asterisco. Normalmente tienen asterisco cuando hay cierres anticipados de el mercado y según yo no. Fíjate acá, Thanksgiving hay 3 asteriscos y acá dice que cierra temprano. Y lo mismo acá en el 25 de diciembre, 4 asteriscos, también habla de cierre temprano. Para el 3 de julio no aparece con asterisco, entonces no cierra más temprano, cierra de manera normal. Mira, Elliot, te vas a estar de cumpleaños mañana. Qué bien, Elliot. Ahí vas a tener un pequeño descanso, respiro para poder celebrarlo muy bien. Jaime, aquí nos habla desde la región de O'Higgins, para quien no lo sabe, eso es una parte de Chile, muy bonita. Diario, desde abril del 2025 se ve un esquema Wyckoff en dólar index, acá en la bolsa en Estados Unidos, en camino a los 100, para probablemente expandir al alza posterior a eso. Ese es el comentario que nos deja aquí Jaime. Nos hablaba respecto a una configuración técnica importante en el caso del dólar index en una gráfica diaria, que era que él estaba monitoreando en particular. En la zona de los 100,20, que es más o menos la zona que está por acá abajo, ahí se quiebra, por lo menos desde el 18 de junio. Tenemos la zona de los 102, que es la zona que en este momento estaría tratando de respetarse a partir de los máximos que tuvimos.
Liking the new style vibes. Thanks a lot. No, I appreciate trying to become a little bit more in touch with the younger crowd, of course. I have no idea what most of the words that I have in my YouTube title mean, but I put them in there. All right, massive bottom wick here on Nasdaq. Let's go take a look around the market. The S&P is already bouncing 75.61. That is now a 4-time bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not talking about the Coolio song. Looking across the market here, we have a green SPCX, I'm sorry. We have a couple of red tech names, otherwise a mixed bag. The S&P is big green, right? Yesterday we had a phenomenal bullish day that led in the morning for the S&P. Right here, obviously we sold off into the afternoon. We rejected 75.78 and put on a 50-point bottom or top wick. Nasdaq closed below the morning low yesterday. The S&P did not. So we still have a little bit of a mixed signal there from the indices as we're grinding back and forth. There's a big bottom wick. Oil is down to 6.7 and looking for a possible bounce. Gold, massive rocket ship on the non-farm payroll. Silver, we took a beautiful trade yesterday. Nearly pinned the exact top on the short. Nearly. We got within 40 cents of the high on the short commission. Beautiful stuff. We're going to continue the train today, baby. We're gonna continue today. Couple of wicks. I did not take a payout on TBT last night. I elected to put it in there. As we're doing more call outs in the server, I'm trading more and more on my IBKR simply because I'm only going to reserve the call outs on the prop firms for my funded accounts on high quality stuff. So lead you astray. But overall, going pretty well. 30,090. We're right here after a bunch of bottom wicks and top wicks. We have tremendous call buying here. And we have put selling. The option chain is bullish. Not insanely bullish, but definitely bullish for the time being. So if you blow a 50K account, you don't know what you lose. No, sir, you don't. So that's the thing that's one of the main benefits of a prop firm account is that the only money you are risking on a prop firm account is the money that you pay up front, the evaluation cost. So anywhere between $50 to $100, depending on which prop firm you go with. So it minimizes your downside. Where prop firms become a really bad investment, in my opinion, is when you're cycling prop firms. You're just gonna treat them as a slot machine and sign up for 50 of them a day, which people do. You know, I've seen tweets out there, people spending $100,000 on prop firm resets, which to me is one step in insanity. So, yeah, create yourself a budget for prop firms. We will. Yeah. All right, a little bit of a bottom wick here so far. We have 140 points off the bottoms. A nice little wick. That's a little too quick for me to want to play the bounce like that. I'd like to see a little bit more of an effort before I'm starting to buy the dip. That was a very quick move. I didn't get out. But very bullish regardless. The option chain is very bullish. The S&P has bounced off this level now 4 times, 5 times. So obviously that is an area of demand. Right. Apex will send someone to break your kneecaps. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Right now we have about $1 billion in calls purchased. We have 14 million in, I'm sorry, 141 million in puts sold. We still have a nice little bullish action here. Remember, today's the last day of the week to trade. Tomorrow the markets are closed. So I would expect maybe a choppier afternoon until the power hour, of course. What's up, Street Salsa? How you doing? Are you medium heat salsa today or are you spicy salsa today? Let's go to the 15-minute and look back. So the 15-minute yesterday, we had the morning shenanigans, which were working great. And then we had after about 11:30, right when we signed off, the market just trickled lower on a lot of wicks on the 15-minute, ultimately closing below the morning low on the NASDAQ. So closing below the morning low after a bullish morning, to me, is a sign of an impending distribution move to the downside. Now, NASDAQ got it. The S&P did not. So the afternoon reds are an indication of weakness. And of course, we'll see if that actually plays out today. We will see. Welcome if you're new here. I know a couple of people signed up in there and they're in the stream for the first time today. Welcome. Make yourself known. Introduce yourself in the stream, in the chat. Appreciate you hanging out with us, of course. We are, if you missed it, we're once again posting trades. I do encourage you not to blindly follow my trades. Hey, massive red candle. Holy smoke-a-ronies, 120-point red candle. After a high volume top one there at 160. No lurking. Not allowed to lurk. I'm gonna sound the lurk alarm. All right, that is a massive red candle. Right there. Massive. Remember, we have a 2-star event top of the hour. Very weak data at the top of the hour, but regardless. And that right there is a 140-point move on NASDAQ. The S&P put on about a 15-point move there. Wonder how well people are doing trying to keep people on their accounts with all these radical 15 points. Well, I'm sure some people are losing accounts. I've been very, very patient. I've actually missed a couple of moves simply because I'm just waiting so much. And overall, it's working pretty well. I'm not complaining. Which you would post swings. Yeah, I am posting swings though, but that's only going to be for tier 2. That's one of the benefits of them. So we're getting that cranked up here too. I posted one set. I've actually posted 2 setups that have been almost perfect with the tier 2 community. Yeah. Hey, massive bottom wick back up. So this is a shaking and a baking day right here. You know what the worst website ever? I think the biggest fall from quality I think that I've seen on any major website is weather.com. Their website is atrocious. It needs to be one of the best weather websites out there. Anyway, don't give it back before close, maybe. Yesterday would be an indication that would be correct. Yeah. Looking across the market here, SpaceX gave back their red. Tesla gave back their red. So Elon has taken a beating today. NASDAQ is here at 30,095. I'm going to go ahead and set up a trade alert until I get my bot set up. Yeah, must be hard to only have 800 billion. Yeah, it's terrible. All right, big old bottom wick right on back up here. So these are very quick moves. I'm not taking these moves because they're very quick. I don't like playing quick reaction moves like this. It's fun when you're right, but that doesn't prolong consistency very much. Awesome. Let's go take a look at gold and silver. Where's Kennedy play? Yeah, it does. So that's really well. Gold is coming up here for a top wick off of 41.51. I want to be privy to these because they are up against. All right, we have another high volume top wick on silver at 62.25. But especially with silver, you need confirmation. That's one that can continue to coast. And tell me thoughts on Tesla today. I can tell you some thoughts on Tesla. Tesla's getting wrecked. If you look on the daily chart, which I like to obviously go big to small on these things, we've got a couple of things here. If you're a trend line trader, we have a trend line rejection right there. We have a little bit of a volume here, but there's not a lot of volume to indicate massive revert. So I think most likely Tesla is going to remain somewhat range bound in the lower 400 for a while. Now, in terms of a couple of days out moves, I can't really say yet. But remember, we have earnings coming up on Tesla in a couple of weeks. I would probably say they're going to stay somewhere in this ballpark until post either at or after earnings, at which point they'll move. Now, typically, it results in a bottom wick with earnings, at least lately, but we'll see. So I bet there's going to be some nods to SpaceX in their earnings call simply because of financial moves in order to acquire. Big move back up here. So already we are 200 points up. Then an instant 50 point revert. These are very spicy candles for NASDAQ. You know what I'm going to say. You need to keep your position sizing small. Literally right there, that if you were wrong on one single mini contract, that's probably smoking most of your two mini accounts right there if you're wrong on that one account. Position sizing. Do it. I'm going nowhere near my border book right now. Yeah, border book. Gold 10 points, wicks are 1K a piece with minis. Yeah, it's crazy. I get some small food. Eat your friends. The S&P is 75.88 going, still going. Obviously, the NASDAQ, this is 2 days in a row now that the mornings have been dominated by the S&P and not the NASDAQ. So maybe a little rotation going on here, a little bit of disposition. Oh, man. Another top wick. They're in the process of selling calls and buying puts. I might be interested in a possible short position if I see the volume I want to see. I don't know, man. They took profits on chips, massive run, affecting that 100%. A little bit of rotation here. XLF has been doing quite well here too. Looks like gold is going to the upside so far, but we need to reclaim overnight highs. Let's go take a look. Gold, yeah, it does appear to be absorption to the upside right now. I don't have any major volume spikes down here. We have a little bit of so far the highest volume candle of the day right here. I think it's the 935 candle, which shows resistance right there. That's where the resistance came in at. So that's your absorption level. We had one rejection, two. Here's the third one, which looks less rejecting and more uppy, more absorption, which it probably will break. We'll retest the 41.55 mark from the overnight conditions. And then we'll determine with volume whether or not they're going to go higher. Does appear to be likely. I'll tell you something's going on with GameStop. I watch the stock every day. It seems like it's ready to go. Yeah, I tell you what, give me a call and I will take your call out on GameStop. Yeah, I'll put $1,000 on a GameStop call. Give me something. I need to be wanting one of those GameStop things. All right, so we have another move up here. No trades for me yet. This is a little too back and forth for me yet. Smash zero today, but the price drops. I feel like devalue turned 50K into 52 million. Dude, that's what I'm trying to do here. You know, I've never had a $50 million win yet. I'd like to get one of those. I don't know if that's too much to ask, but man, ES is freaking flying. We had a high volume spike there, 943, still going. If you look left, there ain't nothing left on NASDAQ or on the S&P until 67 for 7,600. NASDAQ is coming up here too, breaking out the 30,190. Most of tech is turning green. They were about half and half red green. They are starting to turn heavy green. The S&P for the most part is very green, and there's only one name that's barely red, two names that are barely red. Oil's coming up. Gold breaking out of absorption for breakout. Silver's doing the same. Not a lot of short opportunities around the market right now. All right, NASDAQ is still going. The S&P is still going. Very green moves. Do you break Kennedy's trend or not? Still no trade for me yet. Tomorrow or Saturday is my favorite holiday of the entire year. I cannot ruin that on erroneous trades. Cannot ruin that. Erroneous trades. Happy 250th to the country, obviously. In order to celebrate, you need to do one of two things, actually, not one of two for both of them. One, buy some fireworks and shoot them. Number two, go buy some tea and throw it in your local barber. Ceremoniously. 30,216 coming up. At which point, there'll be nothing stopping the mark for overnight high. Ooh, blast off green. Blast off green. Man, that's crazy. Big move. We have a no burn, no firework ban because of the drought. Let's see how well that goes. Am I wrong for feeling a 10 a.m. reversal today? No, you're not. Commit tax evasion like our founding fathers have said. That's right. Got stopped out for an 80% on SPY just in the observer. We'll get a setup. Nice side gig. Well done. CL, possible high volume top wick. Possible short entry coming up on CL. We need 67.87. Here's your 5 minute. I like a short setup on CL better than the NASDAQ. CL is most likely to trickle down than the NASDAQ at the moment until we get a signal. Ooh, blast off. NASDAQ still going. Still going. Two, three calls next week. Super M risky take profit in today. Maybe leave runners. Aye. Two, three. Let's see if my volume analysis lives up to your, can hold up to your analysis. Let's see. We have a 3T top wick that occurred on May 1st. We have earnings that came on and they beat quite well. With a high volume move there. Ooh, man, we got a 2369 pivot into a volume shelf right at the daily COC. So we have a tremendous amount of resistance right here, bro. You think we're about to break resistance? But they are holding the defense at 20.12. Pop and drop. They try on NASDAQ left there. So.
Just missed the short on the Dow here.
Doesn't just no more unless it's increases to go last. There's enough because we think the store can cover the benefit from people over here.
There it is. Target. There's your target on that.
Cocky, isn't it?
Short.
Cocky, isn't it?
It's still
All that money we paid to the Social Security will never see again. Fantastic. I think you know with what hair. Yeah, don't do that. That dude in Dan's picture is way too handsome to be me. Way too handsome. But my garden is rocking and rolling this year. I gotta say, it's pretty fantastic. My tomatoes are the biggest tomatoes I've ever seen. All right, still coming off here. Oil is coming off nicely. NASDAQ is beginning to put on a bit of a top wick here with minor volume. The high volume spike came in at 950. I feel like you have some USA flags overall. I honestly have that exact pair in my closet. I will show you a picture. Not with me. I will show you the picture of it. I have that exact overall set. And I will be wearing it on Monday. Along with my y'all remember the wig I wore to the first OM conference in Las Vegas? Yeah, I still have it. I'll be wearing it. All right, 30,207. You're silly. Yep. Big old top wick NASDAQ, 75.94. That is now a 3-time top wick on the S&P and NASDAQ. When is the OM conference? I don't know. I got to figure out. I think I'm going to put out feelers before I do this. I'm not going to put all this effort into built to do at a conference and only like 5 people come. If I could get like 30, 40 people to come, I think it'll be worth it. Last time we had 80, almost 180, 80 something people, and it was an awesome time. So I'm going to put out feelers first. As for deposits, yeah. Got a lot of put buying in they sold off about $1 billion in calls there. $5. Where do I see Tesla possible bouncing? Lower 400s. But remember, they have earnings coming up at the end of the month. If it's in Montana, my wife will be coming too, so I want to visit Montana. Yeah, me too. Big old bottleneck NASDAQ. Dan's house in Naples. Buddy. Nothing more bullish than a bad job report. Yep, well, we're coming into the 10 o'clock move here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 10 o'clock reversal move here. We should do a meeting at the local gym to spread press with the bar. I'm not a drinker, but I could do the bench press in the local gym. All right, do we get volume is the question here. That's what I'm looking for. The S&P has kind of put on a top position here, but there's no sign of any kind of short position. 6 volume. Overall in America, buddy. Here, I'm going to text the wife to see if you can get out of the closet. Hold on. $32.46. What do you think, Kennedy? We already briefly. Oh, they're way up there. Do we have volume is the key? No, we don't. We want some color. Heat yesterday with 47 degrees. I had a Speedo on all out afternoon. That is horrifying. ES Bears TikTok reference. There's something there. Hold on, what'd you say? The danger comes from overfitting and putting yourself in a contrarian position early in a breakout or trend day. With good mismanagement, some patience, it's very profitable. Yep, definitely. If you're gonna play contrarian on a trend day, you've got to be very patient and wait for the mark. Speaking of Montana, they just got 10 inches of snow. It's crazy. Yes, or NASDAQ is coming up on the overnight high right here. By using FOMO as a signal to do the opposite. Ooh, I like it. The stupidity of the government. My cousin who has seen the French stock exchange is about to see that on the French bank. Sorry to hear that, Damien. There's a lot of corruption around all the governments. Got to sweep the 830 liquidity candle first for NASDAQ. We're almost there. I'm going to be patient. We have a bit of a volume. We have a bit of a top wick. The options aren't looking really convincing about anything. Anyone watched the US soccer game last night? Negative. Oil put on a beautiful high volume 3C top tick. Talked about that in the stream right there. I started thinking about the whole thing to give him €1 for compensation. That sounds pretty good. The red card was Bullocks. I thought you were American. Coming on down 30,240. They are selling calls and buying puts. So we're in that area where we could possibly see some distribution here. And I think I'm going to start to look for a setup here. That's good because all of a sudden America's about soccer. Ah, there we go.
It's getting wrecked here.
Nice little pullback. ES is coming up here too. Still no signal for anything there. Gold. Ooh, I like that gold setup. One of the worst garbage calls in Bosnia. Lost. Soccer is a great spectator sport. Constant action. Scoring is rare. Cool uniforms, Brazilian girls. Yeah. To me, one of the best sports for spectators has got to be hockey. And I'm a massive baseball fan too. But I can understand baseball would not be fun to watch if you don't thoroughly enjoy baseball. All right, nearly 100-point rejection on NASDAQ here. Right at the top of the hour. I think we're ready for it. So there's still the goals to the thing. There we go. NASDAQ still dropping. Hockey, yeah. All right, still coming off here. Nice. So it's a nice little 3C top wick. We had the volume, very minor volume, but it was there. A little bit of a top wick. We have a 3C closed at 232. 80% mark is the first target, 150. Standing lower. Boom. Right through the 50. Next target, 30,000. 30,000.
What the fuck?